Welcome to the Private Practice Pro podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping therapists cultivate success. Here's your host, Kelley Stevens.
This podcast is sponsored by Simple Practice. I've been using Simple Practice since 2016, which has helped me run a smooth and profitable private practice over the years. It has simplified everything from scheduling to billing, giving me a better balance between the work I'm so passionate about and the family time I'm not willing to miss out on. Check out the episode notes to get a free 2-month trial of Simple Practice, my preferred all-in-one HIPAA-compliant solution. All right, everyone, welcome back to the Private Practice Pro podcast. Stephanie, I'm so excited to have you here, and I like to let people do their own introductions. So can you tell us, first of all, where you're sitting, where in the world you are, and what you do?
Yes, I'm sitting in my home office. Very grateful to work from home. I'm just outside of Toronto in Canada. And what else was the question? What do I do for a living? I forgot.
Yeah, well, what do you do? Who are you? What do you do?
Okay, so I am a retired dietitian. I studied dietetics. I have a master's of public health and health sciences. And I was a dietitian for 12 years and I loved it. And I got into it because probably like all of us, like I wanted to help people and I wanted to make a difference and I wanted to change the world. And immediately within my first year, I realized the system that I was getting a job in sucked. And I couldn't find first a job that I liked. I actually had my first job. I was driving an hour and a half and I rented a little apartment in this small town and I would be there Monday to Thursday. And then I would like drive home to my husband because I wanted this like job teaching kids cooking, like these like cool things we come up with in our heads. So I couldn't find a job that I loved. I also like in my second job topped out. So I think the most amount of money I could make at that time was $60,000 a year. And they offered me 59 in my second year of my career. And I was like, super duper, this is horrible. I had patients, no showing, late canceling. I'd have an 8-hour day and I'd work with 4 people and just sit around. And so I very quickly like started a website, with all that free time and started blogging. I was in nutrition, right? So I shared recipes and stuff. And I started my own brick and mortar practice. And then with the brick and mortar practice, I got busy really quickly. I did digestive health in a time when no one was talking about poop. Now poop emojis are so cool, so much easier.
People love digestive health now.
Oh, it's so cool now. It was so hard. No one would talk about it at all. I was a weirdo. It was like 2012, 2013. So, but it was great. I got lots of referrals. I filled up really quickly. Like I think a lot of health professionals do that, have a expertise and get out in the world. So I filled up within about 6 months, which to me, actually, Kelley, was only 3 days a week of patients, like 2.5, 3 days a week. That was my capacity. I'm an empath. I hold a lot for people, and that's too much for me. And so then I started developing other things. So in 2013, I developed my first online program. And since then, for the past 10 years, I've been studying and mastering digital marketing for e-learning and online learning for clinicians. So I work with dietitians and therapists and social workers, all the beautiful mental health professionals, but I work with licensed health professionals as well as naturopath, SLPs, OTPTs. So all of our like allied health professional friends. And I help them take their expertise from their practice and then build other assets to help more people with less time and then also make more money for their practice. So that has been my journey and my mastery for the last 10 years. And I run a company called The Leverage Practice where we do that work.
I love it. And we're going to make sure that we link all of your information and ways to contact you in the show notes for this episode. But, the thing I think about for you is like in 2013, right now, online learning is like the hot topic, right? Like everyone wants multiple streams of income. Everybody wants to build an online course, but you were really here long before it was cool. If that makes sense.
It's harder to sell. Same with the gut health, right? Like I'm a girl who loves to be first to market. I fight for it. I love it so much. I love coming up with an idea that people really need. And the interesting thing about that, I don't know if you connect with this, is, and actually I think a lot of clinicians are like this, is we have so many amazing ideas. And sometimes we need to just stop coming up with ideas and we need to commit to one idea and we need to just stick with it. So I've had lots of businesses and lots of things in all these 10 years. I've also had 3 kids in these 10 years. So my kids are 3, 5, and 8. So like I launched my business the year I got married. So it's been like just wonderful timing in all of it. I think just perfect. But yeah, I think in 2013, when I launched that program, that was a professional development program. So I had that little practice and I was like, how else do I make money? And everyone was asking me how I was teaching cooking because I had a culinary degree and a dietetic degree. And I loved teaching cooking. And so everyone was asking me every day. And if you know anything about business, it's if people are asking for your help, they're telling you there's a market for it. And so I developed an in-person workshop and I traveled around Canada, which is very big, very expensive. And I ran this in-person workshop for 40 people and it was so fun. And I made tens of thousands of dollars and it was poorly profitable. Like I was probably making $4 an hour. It was crazy.
Well, and you were traveling everywhere.
I was traveling everywhere. And so then people were asking me to go all over the place. And it kind of forced me into online programming. And I'm up for a challenge. So I don't even know how I learned online education back then. Like there wasn't really anything happening in that regard. And so the first time we launched this program for $197 on the internet, the first person that bought lived in Nunavut, which is like the northern Canada, where it is, where the ground is frozen. That's I think sometimes what people think Canada is. It's not all Canada. It's pretty cold, but like, that's the coldest. And this woman was the first one to purchase. And I was like, my heart, it was like, whoa, this is meaningful. This person would never have gotten this education if I didn't do this. Like it just was the world proving to me. And that was in 2013. And so since then, I think my Stripe account says over $2 million in like digital sales and courses and programs and memberships and all the things. I've done everything from corporate wellness programming that's free for people through their companies to memberships, to masterminds, to all of it. But yeah, it was in 2013. I always say like I'm a grandma, like I'm a grumpy grandma on a rocking chair. And I'm like, you kids, you don't even know how good you have. You don't even know.
It's really funny because anyone listening to this can't actually see you except for unless they're watching it on our YouTube channel. And so you're like the exact opposite of an old grandma, but okay.
40. Like, like if you've been around for a while and you've seen it, what it used to be, you're kind of like kids, you don't even know. Like we had to hire graphic designers, never mind Canva. We had to, hire someone to build our website, never mind like drag and drop. Like, I mean, I hired a company in Pakistan off of Elance for $3,000 to build a plugin for my website to deliver this online program. I threw it in the garbage 6 months later because it didn't work. And so it was really early and it was really difficult. It's also why I'm such a fan of it because it's so much easier to just leverage your expertise now and put a program together and get it out in the world. But yeah, it was early and it was fun though. I kind of look at it like a trophy. Like I was like, I was one of the first ones, guys, out there. Like it was crazy.
I think that's amazing. And like, I'll say from my point of view, like building online programming has changed my life. And allowed me to be, and I love what you said about you had 3 kids in the midst of all of it. I think for me, like what motivated me to build an online course, my first online course was having a baby because I wanted more time. And that was it. Like, I don't know if I would have done it had I not. So, okay, here's where we could talk for 3 hours and I want to make sure I'm asking the questions that I came to ask you. So, if the majority of the people listening to this podcast are therapists. That's like who's here. That's what we're all about. So if there's a therapist out there who's sitting there and is like working one-to-one, really great at their niche, like just, has a full practice and they're saying to themselves, okay, I want to build an online course or build an online membership. And I have literally no idea what to do.
Yep.
What do they do? What's the first step?
Okay.
I mean, obviously, I know they're supposed to call you, but what else?
No. Okay. So the first thing that I've seen a lot with health professionals in general. Okay. Now we are all our own little breed, right? Dietitians and therapists and SLPs, like we kind of are our own little posses, but we've got a lot overlapping. A lot. And so what I've seen with everyone and even tougher in therapists, Kelley, is like this perfectionism thing will just take you down before you start. And so the first thing is if you, like you just said, you had a why behind it. You were like, you know what? I want more time. I want more time for my kiddos. I want more time for my family. I mean, you want to have more time for making babies. Like you want more time, right? For me, I really, the first driver was more money. I was topping out at $60K. I didn't want to just see patients. I knew that would exhaust my heart and soul. Like I couldn't handle it. And I wanted to make more for my life and for my family. So it's usually those things. So the first step, honestly, is to connect to that why, map that out, and then understand your heart and soul and that you are probably going to fight some perfectionism.
Right.
And all this time you've been showing up in one-to-ones and you have that opportunity to kind of coach and change live. And with programming, you can overthink it and you can redo it 55 times before you ever launch it and then never launch it. So you have to understand some of those flaws before you get started. And then as you get started, I think what our people need to know, Kelley, is like the big picture. So I think that the first step is important, but in order for you to take the first step, you kind of have to see where you're going.
Right.
Now, again, remember, don't overthink it. Don't ask all the questions that don't matter for a year, okay? Because I know you have them, so don't worry. Don't worry how it's all going to work out. But for now, really just, can you wrap your head around running a group program on the internet live on Zoom? Can it be a short version? Can it be a first version? Can you have a beta group? Can you take what you teach in your one-to-ones or even in your in-person groups right now and put it into a structure where you deliver it on the internet live? Because if you can do that, on the other side of that, I pretty much can promise you that you will feel completely different about it. Because once you actually do the thing, even if you have 4 current clients in the program, get your current clients in there, once you run it and you see yourself show up and teach a group, you will love it. And then you can keep going. But the first part is really sticky. So I find people think I have to record all these videos and I have to make all these worksheets on brand and everything. And that can sink you before you start. So I want you to kind of think about the long-term plan is, let's get a program, let's test it out, let's improve it as we go. And if you can handle that, I think you can do this. If you have too much, you probably need to go to therapy. And
I might have fallen into that camp.
You're probably already in therapy, but we all need the therapy. Working on that. But it really is, like you were saying, it's transformed your life. Entrepreneurship and business ownership, if you push yourself out of your comfort zone, which I think you should, will just change your life. It's really impactful. And so that's it. So technically the first step is going to be, what I tell people is just do a big old brainstorm. I don't think any of you need to validate your ideas. You don't need to look at the market. You're really going to leverage what you're doing in your practice. Who are the people that you love working with? A lot of you people probably have multiple specialties or see multiple groups. What's your favorite? Who's that client that you love working with, that you get the best results for, that you love showing up for? We all have those clients. It's okay. You don't have to tell anyone. It's not going to be going to pick, anyways, it's fine. Just pick that. And that's, then just start to brainstorm all the things you teach them in your one-to-one. It's the education pieces. We pull those all out and we start to construct an outline. We have lots of little things to help you do that. Kelley's going to put some links in here, but we have a podcast called the Leverage Practice Podcast, lots of stuff on there. And I have a free training called, I don't know, it's what it's called, but it'll help you. It'll help you. Where's Taylor? Taylor, what's it called? It'll help. I know the URL though, friends. It's theleveragepractice.com/models, where you can just find me on the internet and be like, I need that models training. Basically, it's just an initial training to help you understand the models of programs. Because I think, Kelley, you were going to ask about multiple streams. And there are a variety of ways that you can educate people on the internet. So take that first step, start to learn a little bit about what it can look and feel like for your practice. Understand that you do need to run a first program and you'll do a great job at it. It won't be perfect, but it will be wonderful. And then, you continue to evolve it. Is that helpful for the first step?
That's totally helpful. And I think, one thing we kind of talked about off camera is this idea of is the models is hybrid versus, so could you walk us through just when you see therapists running programs, what are the kind of 3 that you see generally?
Okay. So there are 4 proven models according to the Leverage Practice, okay? One is a high-touch hybrid, so you incorporate one-to-one in. So really all you're doing is keep doing your one-to-one, but take all the educational pieces out and put them on the internet, and you're going to cut your time with clients in half. It's awesome. Hybrid. Second is a small group cohort. People love this. So we're talking max 8 to 10 people. Those are going to be higher price points, these 2 models, right? Just 8 to 10 people in a group. You meet weekly, you facilitate calls rather than teaching in that structure. You're a facilitator. There's a group dynamic. Oh, so wonderful. Great model. Third model is what we call like a group coaching model. This is the model you can help hundreds or thousands of people with. This is really a leveraged, scalable model. And you're going to have like group Q&As. You're going to have everything recorded already. And you're going to move people through, a larger volume program. And that one does need to have a little bit of like email support or chat support or something like that. So people have the opportunity to ask questions. And then the fourth one is what we call a maintenance membership. So I love memberships, but I think they do really well in health as an after product. So after you help your initial group with whatever you help them with, they go over that first hump.
Right.
After that, a lot of people need continued support, but they don't need you every week or as often.
Right.
And I found this in my own practice, right? I helped people with IBS for about 3-4 months. And then I was like, do you still want me? And they were like, yeah, but not as often.
Right.
So that's a great way to have a continuity. So business wise, continuity is great for business, right? You keep the same clients and keep helping them, but they pay less and they get less of you. And it's just kind of ongoing. So those are our 4 models. When you ask me kind of like the 3 things, I'm going to switch it up. So that's the models, right? That's the way you deliver your services. But then we have like types of products, like this whole like multiple streams. So again, what we see is like there's sort of 3 tiers. And if I could draw you a picture, I would. I'm a big like whiteboard girl. But we have our group program, which is leveraged, right? You meet with people group. There's no one-to-one. You record all your educational moments and you kind of coach them through in a group environment. That's awesome. That's like a mid-tier product. It's between $1,000 and $2,000 generally, let's say. But from that, you can take all the education out of it and offer no support and offer that for between like $300 to $500.
Right.
And a lot of people really want that. Like they really, a lot of people don't want to go one-to-one. And I don't want to like poo-poo on therapy, but therapy's tough sometimes to get people to show up for. And so I think a lot of people would give your company money to learn from you without talking to you. And so
100%. I mean, I'll say a lot of my courses are this, and a lot of the courses I take, so I feel like I'm like the queen of taking parenting courses. I don't want to talk to anyone. Like I want to do them while I'm sitting in my car on the way to pick up. Like I'm that consumer. So I get it.
One of my clients has, one of my therapist clients right now is building this beautiful relationship program. And she talks about it like she is raising the new kids, like the little kids are going to have different parents and like learn to be different parents. Like I want to cry when I hear it. I'm so excited for her. And I kind of want to take it, but I don't want anyone to see me. Like I don't want to be on any calls. I just want to like watch the videos. So
and like sometimes you don't have time. Sometimes I don't have time to sit on a coaching call. Like sometimes I just want to listen.
Sometimes we just want to learn. And here's the thing: I think as providers, we want everyone to get 100% results. I struggled with this as a dietitian, right? I wanted everyone to be symptom free, and it's not possible. But we can allow people to learn the way they want to learn, and that might be on the sidelines, never talking to anyone. Will they get 100% results? No, they won't. But will they get a little bit of results and be happy that they learned and have a little more information? Yes. And will you help more people? Yes. And will you make more money? Yes. So I love take all the education, structure that all out, and have like a sort of a self-study kind of course style program. You can run a group program as well. And then that higher tier, like you said, it was the hybrid. So we can have our group program, but we can still do one-to-one with people. And I'm working with a therapist right now, Nancy, who works with trauma and PTSD. And she's run her first program and she's into her second cohort. And what she learned was, what most people learn is that there's a certain group of people that do really well in a group program. And there's another group of people that need a hybrid program or they need one-to-one. And that's true for therapists and for dietitians and for all of us. And so as you sort of struggle with this concept a little bit, think about that. Like, who are the people that would absolutely love to be in a group and thrive with people that they're going through their journey with? I think about parents, even though you're like, I don't want to see any people. Sometimes.
That's just my own shit. That has nothing to do with the industry as a whole.
But yeah, there's going to be some of your clients that come in that you're like, oh, they would love a program, or I could definitely like, they're lower, I would say maybe like lower risk, like they're lower needs. And then we have our people that like, they need some attention.
Yeah,
but
they need one-to-one.
Graduate into group programs and things like that. So those are really the 3 tier or the 3 different sort of kind of price points and ways that you can sell the program. And then the other 4 I was seeing is like the delivery aspect. Like, is that clear enough? Do you think?
Yes, I think it's super clear, because I think I like what you said earlier in this sense that like, sometimes we have to kind of know where we're going too. There's the first step, but then it's like, I know when I stepped into online education space, it felt like, well, I could have a workbook or I could have a course or I could have that, and it was like, what works for me? And I like what you said about immediately connecting with what do you want for like your values? What do you want for your life? Because I know like the type of program we design also has to do with like, I don't have as much coaching involved in my programs because I want more time. Or, you might have more coaching and you want more of that experience with, so anyway, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I think
it's also like, well, it's like, how do you pick? I think you're trying to kind of say like, there's lots of options. Actually, there's not infinite options though, which is kind of nice, right? Like you get to create a business that works for you. Well, that's not fair that there's not infinite options, but I do want to say there are best practices, which we all love. There are best practices for clinicians to run group programs or have digital assets for your practice that have worked for years before you. And so that's what you want to kind of lean into. And then like you said, Kelley, like choose the one that works best for you. If it's like money first, then a lot of people I work with kind of build the hybrid or the small group first, because the first time you run it, you want to work a little more closely with people and get that feedback. And I promise it will help your confidence as well.
Right.
And I also encourage people to do it live, which no one really wants to do, but
but that's the fun part. I will say that
it's hard to make them do it live. And then as you go and grow, then I think some of like the coursework and the more passive stuff can really be great add-ons. But I do like people that kind of test out the content at least once or twice with a group. But absolutely know where you're going. Just don't bog yourself down with all the questions, and don't let all the questions freak you out and then stop you from doing it, because I don't know, how'd you get here? Like, you're fine. It's okay.
Hey, therapists. Are you listening to the show and thinking, I really want to launch my own private practice, but I have no idea where to start? Make sure to check out Kelley's Private Practice Roadmap course. In the course, Kelley gives you the exact steps you need to open your own thriving practice. You can find the link below in the show notes.
My question also is, when you see people kind of step into this world of online offerings, do you recommend they do it when they first open their one-to-one brick and mortar practice, or do you think it's good to have a little time between and establishing yourself and your niche? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Totally. It's such a good question. And I think over the years I've gone back and forth. Here's the thing. If you don't have a brand and you've just started a business and you have no brand, it will be a challenge for you to learn how to get clients in.
Right.
And if you only have a group program and you can't start it every day, then it will be very difficult for you to like fill up a group program with 5 or 10 or 15 people and make money from that. It's just challenging.
Right.
So what I think in regards to selling programs is, once you have an established brand, and sometimes this is people who are starting a business, but they have 40,000 people on Instagram or something. Like some of you are fresh into business, but you have built a community. That's okay. You can launch programs. But the other part of it is, I think, is that you want to be good at what you do when you build groups.
Yeah.
So I would encourage a higher touch group, like a hybrid group, out of the gate if you're new and you're still building up that expertise. Whereas for those that have expertise, it's much easier for you to put like a self-study together, or put together a course or a program with some group calls. So there is a level of mastery. And I say that, Kelley, because I think a lot of people work in clinic or an agency for like 10 years and you're an expert at what you do.
Right.
And so if that's the case, then you can absolutely launch a business and bring in multiple aspects, one-to-one programs, whatever you like. I also think, and I wonder what you think, but it can be so distracting to build multiple things at one time. So if you have a fresh practice, then you're working on your own programming and how you're working with patients and clients and stuff. And you're also working on building your brand, and you're working on building referrals. And so if you're also building a course at the same time, it could be quite distracting. So I think established brands and established practitioners do the best with programs.
I agree. I completely agree. I tell people.
But I also am kind of like, you don't have to do 5 years of one-to-one before you launch a course. Like I don't love that. But you're going to do the best if you are an established practitioner, or you have an established expertise, or you've started to build a brand.
Yeah.
And then, as you get into that, I still think you can very quickly have kind of options for people, right? Which is really, really great for them. Yeah, that's my thought on it.
I agree. I mean, I think I agree with you that it doesn't have to be like a 5-year and you do this, but I think it is helpful. I'm always like, I never want to say never. I will have people come in that are super driven and they're motivated and they have time to build a practice and build an online brand at the same time. And they're just one of those people that does. I find that it's not the majority, that it does, that there's some benefit to having some stability. And I think that even has to do with like, you have some stability in your income in your practice. So like maybe you go part-time in private practice and then, you're not, because I find that online sales, like it's going to take you a little while. Like you can open a private practice and next week have 4 clients that are paying you $200 an hour. In online sales, you have to build the program for them to come to first. So I think it is helpful to have at least somewhat of an established practice or need.
It's very different in regards to money. And you're right. Like, that's why I say, like, if it's money, like if you're like, oh, I got to get some money in the door, which shouldn't we all? Like, we should all get money through the door and then continue to invest in our businesses.
Right.
Then absolutely, I think it's great. I think a lot of the people that I work with and in my community, Kelley, they want to do both. Like they love their one-to-one patients, but they want to do like 1 to 2 days a week, maybe. And then they also want to have some other things that they do. They want to run some groups or have some other things. And so I think it's a nice balance, but I would say it's easiest and most successful in general for people that have established brands or established companies or established pathways to lead people through, because often in one-to-one, we can do whatever we want, right? We have someone come in, they tell us their troubles, and we come up with a plan.
Right.
Whereas when you have a program, it's structured, and it's like week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. And sometimes I think health professionals can really struggle with that because they fight like, oh, there's not a process. And there kind of is. And after you see 100 clients, you're going to see a lot of overlap and sort of a general line.
You're going to have some of the same sessions over and over. I mean, therapists face this too. It's like we don't want to tell clients that. This is not a client-based podcast. This is a therapist-based podcast. So people listening to this know that you're going to start saying some of the same things. Like you're going to see themes in your sessions, and we're human. Of course you're going to, right? So yeah. I think it makes sense.
Don't you think you're going to see some like general order? So I know it's going to be different like with every client, but you're going to see a general we generally teach these principles first, and then we teach these principles and these principles. Like I did parts work with one of my therapists when I was processing my trauma, friends, okay? And I did some good EMDR and I did some parts work. And there was a process to the parts work, right? Like kind of opening up the concepts to it and going deeper into my characters and like all the things. And so that's what we're trying to map out. And it absolutely is easier once you've worked with people and you've mapped out your process in that way. 100%. So, but yeah, I'm always like, well, everyone's a little different. So it depends on you and what you want to do, and don't ever not do something. But yeah, I mean, I think also these days you can learn about it and you can get your feet wet and you can kind of, I don't know, kind of start playing around with different things and know where you're going. I know that y'all want to know where you're going 25 years from now, which is tricky. It's probably not necessary. That's just maybe the next couple of years.
That's 100% my tragic flaw. Like I want to know what I'm having
25 years
for
from now?
Thanksgiving. Yeah, that's me for sure. Okay, here's the other question I get a lot about online offerings is, do you need to have an established audience on some social media platform?
Good question. Yeah, it's like the question of, we often get like, do I need to build my audience first before I sell stuff, right? Good question. Again, wishy-washy answer from me.
Right.
I think it's, okay, so a lot of especially our therapists, of our therapists and a lot of our dietitians have established businesses, and they leverage all of their current marketing. So all the referrals that are coming in, all of their partners, all of their network, everyone. Like one of my clients, Alden, she just launched her 8-week program. She didn't even do like a webinar or anything. She was like, I got a program. And she just told all of her referrals and she filled up that program within a couple of weeks. Is that a long-term, we need to work on growing our businesses and growing on our audiences. But to get started in programming, use your marketing, right? Like one of my clients is building an eating disorder support program for the parents of the youth she works with. She doesn't even need an audience, right? She's building a program that complements what she's doing. So having an established brand, having referrals, having marketing out there, you can leverage all of that and offer multiple streams of revenue. So you can offer your one-to-ones and you can offer your group programs or your courses. So in my opinion, you don't even need like an online audience, and I'm doing air quotes like Instagram or TikTok or whatever. You don't necessarily need that. What you need, though, is people coming to you. You need brand awareness. You need to be attracting and drawing in new people every day, which could be SEO for your website because you're a blogger, or it could be, practices locally around you that send you people. It's all that kind of stuff. So you absolutely don't need a large audience to do it. The other important thing that I would say, and Kelley, I wonder if you probably agree with this, is that I often get people kind of scared to sell anything before they build an audience. And I would argue very strongly against that as someone who was in health and grew an email list to 10,000 people. We had a gigantic email. Well, to me, it felt like gigantic.
Right.
So successful in email marketing. But my conversion rate of that list was very poor. Why? Because I was giving away tons of free content and attracting people that just wanted the free content and didn't attract the right people with my content. So be wary of just like putting content out in the world and not selling anything, or not connecting that content to an offer.
Yeah,
so
at some point you have to sell. People are not just going to hand you money.
Yeah. And so I think that's a thing with health specifically, because we see so many people doing it on Instagram, right? Like for the nutrition people, giving out tons of recipes. Well, why am I going to buy a program? You just showed me how to eat properly. Like, for mental health, we're giving away all the tips and all the strategies and all the exercises and all the things. And so you really want to have a line of how your marketing and your branding and growing your audience connects to the offers that you have.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think it makes sense. And I agree with you in the sense that I think like, almost like, so when we look at a therapist that already has a referral network, they have psychiatrists that are referring to them, or pediatricians or whatever, or they have like your example of the parents of the clients that they have. They kind of have air quotes audience already. Yeah. It's just not an Instagram audience. Like they have people they're going to sell to. And sometimes that's where I like to remind therapists is like, it's not that you need to have a massive Instagram following, but you do need to have people that you're going to sell to. If you're trying to build something that's totally outside of your niche and you don't have anyone who's interested in it, you're not going to sell it, but you do need some way of bringing in clients. And I kind of like what you said, that like you can start with an offer that you're teaching live, that you are sending out to all of your current referral sources, and then you could transition into other types of programs.
I mean, there is this Band-Aid that needs to be ripped off with online programs. And so what I always say is you have to know yourself, right? Some of my clients are like, Steph, I have to record everything or I'm going to have a breakdown. And I'm like, crap. Okay. But like, yourself, and it's going to take you a year to do it, and totally fine. But just know that it's going to take you a year to do it. And then after we record all the videos, we're going to have to probably do them again because you got to like test this stuff. But some people can be okay with kind of, like you said, like a lot of my clients, I'll convince to just like grab current clients and run a program.
Try it out.
For 8 weeks with your current clients. And when I watch people do that, it's like ripping off a Band-Aid. They're like, oh my gosh, I can do this online program thing. And the confidence level is like quadruple, and they can go ahead and take over the world at that point. So there really is this, I find, kind of, this like hurdle we have to get through. So know yourself and what it is. I mean, some of my clients even, Kelley, like they don't want to go on the internet, right? They're like, I don't want to go like live. I'm afraid to go live. I'm afraid to show my face. I'm like, well, that's tricky. But
you're
like
building
figure out
an online program.
Like figure it out. But do it. Like I would say, like do it every day and delete it every day. Imagine how good you'll be in 60 days, even if you air nothing. Even if you go live every day and delete it, you'll be like 60 times better. So
100%.
Doing
100%. The first time I started posting reels, I was like on Instagram, I was like, I need to do 30 in 30 days. I just have to. And if you scroll way back in my Instagram feed, the first ones were terrible, But like, I like to remind people, like, at the point when only your grandma is your Instagram follower, no one cares. No one cares about you enough that they're judging. They just don't, Yeah. Maybe once you have a bigger following, but even then, like, I don't know. I've posted some things where I'm like, ooh, that wasn't my best, but it was okay. It was good enough.
Oh man, I still record stuff with Taylor. So I have a social media manager, and she comes over with real ideas, and we do them every Tuesday. So we did them this morning and before recording. And she just comes with ideas, and she's like, this. And I'm like, okay. And then I do it, and I'm like, not sure I hit it. Like, not sure I hit it quite on, but we're going to just put that out there because it's done. We're going to try again next time. Like, they're not all going to be winners, which is
No.
totally fine. I like to think about musical artists, like musicians. Not all their songs are good ones. Like,
Yeah,
not
they
all
don't
their
always even
albums are
plan,
great.
right? They plan the best few in the album and they have some filler. I mean, and I'm not saying it's filler. I'm just saying, like, I think I see therapists do this. Like, I'm working with a therapist right now who I adore and will send me these messages. It's also one of my good friends, so I'm just saying. Who will send me messages of this like perfectly sculpted idea once a week for a video. And I'm like, okay, just do the video and then you need 4 more. But the perfection keeps her in that one video and then it's not enough. Then it's not enough for building an Instagram following.
So hard.
Versus like, obviously once you're building like I know right now I'm filming another program and that is where I'm like, okay, this has got to be perfect. People are spending good money on my programs. Like I'm re-recording videos. Like I can't even tell you how many times I've recorded some of them. And like in that way, on a program 2 years in, I'm like, okay, I want this perfect. On my first program, oh my God. Even there's things where I'm like, okay, I thought it was perfect at the time, but now that I've taught this a million times, I know it's not perfect. And like, I'm going to go and do it again,
So I do this for a living.
Yeah.
Okay, this is like I am an expert on this.
Right.
And I will tell you, it's not perfect for me, Kelley. Like if I record, I can always re-record it. Like
re-recording video is my life. All I do is re-record videos.
I don't know. I don't think I've ever done anything perfectly. I will say this program that we have just built, and it's like a newer program for us, and it's Health Funnel Bootcamp. That we were talking about before. I'm so proud of it. Like I absolutely love it. It's so good. But if I talked to myself 5 years ago on like perfect, so let's talk about perfect for a second, because maybe the definition of perfect needs to change a little bit, right? Like, because I thought like 5 years ago that this would not be perfect to me. But I look at it, I'm like, oh, this is the best. Because I have slide decks, and I know you people love slide decks, and I'm just talk to camera girl, but like I have some nice slide decks. I have some good visuals.
People love a good slide.
I switch between face to camera and slides, which is like my groove, right? So it's not just slides. But listen, I have no workbooks. I have no damn handouts. Like 5 years ago, I would have been like I would have spent months making the workbook before I recorded anything. But I don't think there's a workbook needed for this.
Right.
And so I love it. I think it's so good. But I'll tell you, in one of those videos I just recorded, there was a crying baby in, and I was like, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it. I can't. I just did a 10-minute video. It's so good. When people complain about my daughter crying that they can't hear, okay, maybe I'll re-record it then. But if it's good,
but a lot of times they don't. Like when I look at back from some of my courses, the things that I thought, that needed to change, is not the thing that and like we all, like when we get, or I don't know, I get surveys from my course, I give everyone a survey. And it's like the things that I thought that I would need to change are actually not the things that I needed to change. And sometimes the things that I'm like, oh, shit, like I thought that was really going to resonate with people. It didn't, and that's good. Then we change it. That's the beauty of online programming. You can go in and switch it up. And anyway, I
just want to say, like, I am a pure expert on this. Like, this is my jam. I'm very, very good at it.
Yeah.
And I had another video where I'm talking and Sierra walked in, and there's no way that I could have cut it so you wouldn't have seen me turn my head. And so the video has me turn my head and cuts and comes back and goes, hey, my daughter just walked in. It's going to look like I just cut this video because she wanted to put goggles on the dog and I wouldn't let her. So let's keep going. And like, I don't know. I think that makes online training better because it's like,
you're human. I think it does
like
too.
You're in the room. I love that. And honestly, like 10 years ago, I think it all needed to be like video edited and stuff like that. And these days you can sit in your office comfortably and have conversations with people on the internet, especially in mental health and therapy, especially in the health world. And it will connect better, I think, with therapy and in mental health. It will connect better than highly produced videos. So I would encourage you to like have a cup of tea and sit there. And so I think in one of my videos, I was drinking matcha. I was like, okay, guys, we're going to drink matcha during this one. So let's do it. Like, let's talk through it. And it honestly feels like we're in the same room together. And I think that's where online is. I mean, you're online. Yeah. You're growing an online brand. Yeah. That's where we live right now, is being connected and real with people. And I love it. I think it's great. So it really will challenge your perfectionism. And if you're up for the challenge, you people can change the entire world, but not if you're exhausted and not if you're just kind of like stuck in your box, right? Like the programs I see come out of my therapist clients, I'm like, oh my gosh, we're going to change the friggin' world with this program. It is so exciting for me. Coming from dietetics, I don't come from therapy. It's so powerful. It's so powerful. If you can get yourself to start playing with this world, it's just so exciting for me to be a part of.
Oh, yeah. Those first few steps are the hardest. And, I think we could talk for 15 million hours about online programming. And I, of course, could pick your brain on my online brand for 1 million hours. And we're going to need a part 2. There's no doubt in my mind. We're going to need a part 2. But I want to leave it here because I want people to just get started. I think a lot of times, at least even when I first started my online brand, I would listen to these podcast episodes and it was like so much information all at one time. And I just would wait years. So I want them to get started. I want them to call you. And so we're going to have all sorts of your information in all the places that needs to be. And yeah, I think people can do it. Do you have any last words of wisdom that you want people to know?
Let me summarize what your action steps are, okay, people?
Wow.
So 1, you're going to do a big old brainstorm. Piece of paper, pen, just take your brain and write out all the things that you say to your clients right now in one particular area, all the things you would include in a program, all the handouts, all the resources, all the things. Do that. Get it on a piece of paper. It'll make you feel better. It's like vomiting on paper. Do that. And then if you want some steps, honestly, I would ask you to go to this free training because it's a great first step, which is this models training. You can find me on Instagram at The Leverage Practice and ask my team for the training, or I believe the link is theleveragepractice.com/models, okay? But either way, just get started with those pieces. If you come to my podcast or you come to a free training and it feels like too much, it's because you didn't kind of wrap your head around it first, which is okay. Right. So just find those episodes or find those videos or whatever, find the information that kind of connects to you and just start, right? Just get started. Yeah, that's it. My last things are nothing. I think it's been a pleasure to be here as someone who is a health professional who has worked with many therapists and interdis when I was in a family health team, but now gets to work with them and see it is so powerful to me. We cried in a call last week because one of my clients does PTSD for trauma with policemen. And now that she has a program on it, she has associations and whole police, companies or whatever being like, hey, everyone should go through your program. And I'm crying about it. Of course they should. And now they all don't need to swarm her with one-to-ones and burn her out 7 days a week. She can be like, yes, everyone should do this basic 6-week trauma course. That is powerful. So any way I can help you guys, find me and let me know. But please, challenge yourself and struggle your way through it because the things that will change the world. And we need that.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you were here.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Ask Kelley Anything is just around the corner. But first, a word from our sponsor. Stay tuned for Kelley's response to your private practice questions.
Therapists, do you want more clients at your full cash rate? Mentaya is a platform that navigates out-of-network benefits for clients. They get clients on average 70% back on therapy by filing claims and chasing down insurance companies. They handle literally everything so that you can focus on what matters. Click the link in the show notes to learn more and get 1 month free using the code PRO.
We're going to get into Ask Kelley Anything today. I love answering your private practice questions. So here is today's voicemail.
Hi, Kelley. My question is about starting private practice and wondering if you recommend building a social media base and followers before actually starting the private practice. If that's a possibility, is that a better way to do it? Or do you recommend just doing it at the same time? Thank you. Bye.
Ooh, okay. This is a good question. So this person is asking, do I recommend you start having a social media presence prior to opening a private practice? This one I find to be easy because my answer is no. I think that social media is a great tool for marketing your private practice. It can be something that really helps you get clients, that helps you get your name out there. You can get more opportunities, but I do not think it's the only tool to marketing your private practice. There are plenty of successful therapists out there who don't have any social media presence, who built their private practice on referrals or other marketing strategies. So I don't think that you have to have social media in order to have a successful private practice. And I try to say this a lot on my podcast because, just by the nature of the fact that I'm a lot on social media and I have a podcast and an Instagram and a TikTok and a Lemonade and everything, I think people assume that I'm going to tell them they have to have a social media presence. And that couldn't be further from the truth. I think social media is one tool that you should use if you love social media. That's going to be my honest response. Because if you're somebody who hates social media, who doesn't like to be on social media, then that's not where you're going to shine, right? If you don't love Instagram, then don't be on Instagram. There are a lot of different ways to market your private practice. But if you like social media in and of itself, if you like connecting with people online, then I think it can be a valuable tool, whether you start doing it before you open your private practice or after. I don't think it matters. I think it's about finding one or two marketing strategies that really work for you and sticking with them consistently over the long term. That's what I would say. I hope this helps, and I'll see you next time.
If you would like to be featured on Ask Kelley Anything, I love getting listener questions from you guys. Anything about private practice goes. And the best way to do that is actually just to give me a call and leave me a question on my voicemail. So I'm going to tell you the phone number right now and make sure to write it down. Here it is, 805-243-8241. I'm looking forward to hearing from you.